Today's episode. You ever notice that when you read specifically mystery versus fantasy, you kind of have two different headspaces? Now, obviously, I know why, because they're two different genres, but let's talk about the specifics. Mom's here. Let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to discuss the differences between a mystery reader and a fantasy reader. Obviously, we know the main differences of the genres, but we're going to kind of nitpick a few things and see if we actually have a difference or if maybe it's more similar than we think. So of course, mystery genres always follow, the whodunit, the
Right.
crime, the thriller. Think Sherlock Holmes, think Agatha Christie, all that stuff. Versus fantasy is really an exploration thing. Fantasy, and for that matter, sci-fi as well. It's basically about exploring the unknown. So, think Lord of the Rings, think Harry Potter, think all of those. There's always some sort of exploration. Now, there's always mystery in the fantasy, and for sometimes there's also fantasy in the mystery. But for the purpose of this, the two genres stay in their lane. Mystery is solving one thing, fantasy is finding something. So for the mystery reader, you read a lot like a detective, right? Like we just said, Sherlock Holmes, probably the best example. You're always looking at everything, you're putting the pieces together. Every word probably has a meaning to it. Every specific object in the story has a meaning to it, right? Agatha Christie, that I just talked about, once said that the reader should have all the clues, but not in a way to make it obvious. So she was, and again, we all know her, one of the biggest mystery authors still of this day.
Right.
um, so she wanted to give you the information, but she didn't want to give you the answer. She wanted you to be there
Right.
till the end, right?
Did Agatha Christie write Murder on the Orient Express?
Murder on the Orient Express,
Perfect.
Death on the Nile.
These are perfect books, right? To talk about what you're talking about. She gives you all the pieces. All the characters are there. Everything's there, but
Right,
you
and
have no
it
idea.
really, I mean, it's one of the few genres that even, and we were talking about this on our last episode, how everything's kind of obvious.
Mhm.
Even though you know how a mystery works, when you read something like Christie or you read a Sherlock Holmes story, it's still intriguing because of the way the words are written, the way everything is kind of thrown at you. You think you figured it out, and then you hit a dead end, and
Right.
then you have to go again, you hit another dead end, and then finally you get to the end of it and you find out, you go, oh. And then you go back and you kind of put the pieces and go, oh, now I see why the first chapter
Right.
did this, and now I see why chapter three. Um, so you have to give yourself that. Was that a clue, or
Right.
was that something to throw me off, right?
Right.
Now, the difference from that, let's go to the fantasy reader. The fantasies always look at it as a understanding of the world, the exploration, like I was saying. If it's something like Harry Potter, you're asking, how does the magic work? How do the beings interact? If it's something like Lord of the Rings, the history,
Right.
the ring, right? Why are they taking this adventure to throw it back into the volcano?
Right.
What do they do with their life? So versus mystery, where you don't really necessarily have to worry about them as a person, in fantasy, you're looking at them as who are they and why are they here in this function, right?
Right.
And Tolkien, the one who Lord of the Rings, once described fantasy as creating a secondary world outside of your own. We've talked about him before. He was in one of the wars. He was very knowledgeable on what was happening between people. So he tried to write a lot of his stuff using real life things, but he also wanted to make sure people knew that he was writing a fantasy world. So he wanted you to not only grow personally, but also imagine, right?
Right.
What when you're looking at a mystery or a fantasy, what are you looking for in those two? Like, is there always that one thing you have to have in a mystery? Is there always that one thing you have to have in a fantasy?
Well, it's funny you said it really has nothing in the mysteries. It doesn't focus on the character. I like the character development in a mystery because I get to know that person and start to think like that person. And in fantasy books, I'll be honest, I don't read fantasy books because my mind doesn't do that. I'm like that doesn't make sense. I'm literally in my head going that literally makes no sense, and so I'm already stuck not a that's probably why I don't never got into Star Wars and why I never got into Star Trek and all these right, these are all considered fantasy, or even Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. I've never seen any of those, and there's a reason, because it doesn't make sense to me. I'm very concrete, so I don't know how you feel about that.
So I just finished the last one. There's a series. It's the Bookmobile Cat series, and it's about a lady who's a librarian, but she ends up finding, dead bodies and has to solve the mystery. But and again, every book is the same. You know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly what she's going to do, what the other characters are going to do. Of course, having the cat there is just,
Hmm.
extra fun. But at first it was nice to meet the character and know her and introduce her. As the time went on, because I think there's 13 altogether, but by the time I got to the last one, she wasn't as important to me because I already knew her character. I
Ah,
already knew who she was. Yes, the story changes a little bit, not much. But that's kind of where I'm at with that. It's not so much that I don't like the people in the story. It's that if I'm going to read a series and the series has the same main protagonist, you lose some interest because you already have met them. And it's kind of like you're just chatting with somebody that you've known for, 5 years or
you're
whatever.
saying you don't like that. I find comfort in that.
I mean, it's fun, it's cute, obviously this series is very meant for just kind of the cozy mystery. It's not really
Yeah,
full on. But if you go something like Agatha Christie stuff, yeah, I think in that case I will go with you on that one because each character does have a specific occupation, a specific personality, a specific whatever that does actually play into the story. It's
right.
just many a times when you read a mystery, other than the main character and maybe the villain, a lot of the other characters and some of them are very side and they're very small.
Right.
So you kind of wonder, do I care? Do I need to? Versus in a fantasy, at least for me, almost everybody in the group plays a role that makes the ending of the story, I guess.
Yeah, it
So
reminds me of the game of Clue. And they're making, isn't there a movie coming out called Clue now? Something like that. It
well, they
tells
made an old one a while back. They might
so
be making a new one.
a movie based on a game rather than a movie based on, right? Because Clue's a game.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, I don't know, but they might be, I don't know.
But it's the same. It would be like an Agatha Christie style because it's all these characters, mustard in the whatever all those different things were.
Right.
They made a movie, which I find fascinating because there's no book. Normally, have you ever heard of a movie being made after a board game? I mean,
Actually, weirdly enough, recently, I think it's the Mattel universe, and they're actually making specific like, that's why the Barbie movie came out because that was the
oh, oh,
toy.
oh, oh, oh.
Um, Ever since Toy Story, gaming companies were like, "Okay, you can make a movie with toys. Let's specifically do." They did Battleship, which did very bad. It wasn't even Battleship as in the game. It was basically an excuse to make an alien movie, but it was Battleship, and that's what they played off of. The fact that you've played Battleship, you'll know what that is. You watch the movie, you're not going to understand what the hell the game is because there's nothing about Battleship in the movie. But
Interesting.
it
Interesting.
doesn't stop you from trying to
Right.
connect. Um, but to put these two together, both both have different ways of doing it. So they're both really fun to read. Obviously, mystery gives you the puzzle, fantasy gives you a world. One makes you think, like a detective. The other one makes you think like an explorer. So, do we try to figure out what happens before the mystery at the end? Do we want to wait to see where you go in the fantasy world? Like it's vague, but probably vague on purpose. Like we were just talking about the last episode, how books written in a way they're written. Are we to look at these books in a specific way? Like if you go to the store, it says mystery. Okay, I'm reading this as a mystery, or is the author saying, okay, yes, I'm a mystery writer, but let's play a little bit of a, I don't know, Connect Four style thing over here. Let's see if we can throw you off and think you're putting the pieces in the right spot, and then all of a sudden you're wrong. So for me, I think it's kind of a little bit of both. I think you have to obviously know what genre you're reading, but I think many authors would say, I'm a writer of this genre, but I'm going to play around a little bit, and I'm going to give you something that maybe doesn't fit in my genre, but we're going to see if it works, and if you like it, here's a bunch more in the series you can read as well.
Like Stephen King, right? He
Yeah, I mean, he obviously horror is his thing. However, what was it? I think The Green Mile, Hearts of Atlantis. He's written stories that are not in his wheelhouse. For me, they're not super interesting. However, what I do like about it is that it does show me that somebody who is 98% something, if they put the time in, they can give you a story that actually works, even if it's not the genre you're specifically looking at. So
interesting.
it may not be the cup of tea you're looking for, but for me at least, it does go, hey, this guy is known for this, but he wrote these. Okay,
Yeah,
nice
I
little
mean,
range.
there's author like James Patterson. He did a whole slew of books on his
That's a
own,
better example. Yeah,
right? But now he does books with, or not just now. It's been a while, but he does books now with other people. He did one with Bill Clinton, and he did one with. I mean,
right.
so literally, he is branching out into something different. I was curious to why you would bring another author in when you're already an established author yourself. Why do you need
I
somebody
mean,
else?
I know he got his son to start writing, and now his son writes like I guess teen versions of
Yeah,
like his
yeah,
dad's books. So
yeah.
it's kind of
It's
it's
in the
yeah.
genes. It's in the genes, I guess. It's in the
There
genes.
you go.
Go check out the next chapter bookstore.shop. There are mystery books in there. There are fantasy books in there. Tell us which kind of books you like best. Do you like mystery books? Let us know in the comments. Do you like, fantasy books? Do you like science fiction? What is your favorite kind of book? Tell us what you would like us to do next. We would like to do it for you. And as Rob likes to say,
Go read a book.